You know, there's a certain kind of pain that doesn't leave any bruises, but it can feel way worse than any physical hit. It's that feeling of being completely and deliberately ignored by the person you love. It's that awful sinking feeling when you realize you've basically become invisible to the one person in the world you just want to be seen by.
Welcome to TinyDrafts, a space for high-potential, unfinished people. So today, we're diving into one of the most painful things that can happen in a relationship: silence. And I don't mean that cozy, comfortable silence where you just get each other. I mean that cold, heavy silence that tells you something is really, really wrong.
You know what I'm talking about, right? That actual ache in your chest, that knot in your stomach. It feels so real, so physical. But why? How can someone else's silence cause a genuine physical reaction in your own body? Well, it turns out the answer is hardwired right into our brains.
Okay, let's get into the science of this, because it's pretty wild. Neuroscientists have used brain scans and found something amazing. When you get ignored or rejected, the part of your brain that lights up is the anterior cingulate cortex. And guess what? That's the exact same area that processes physical pain. So in a very real sense, your brain doesn't know the difference between a broken arm and a broken heart. The pain is not in your head, it's real.
Now, this is where we have to get really clear, because not all silence means the same thing. It can be used in two totally different ways during a fight. Sometimes silence is a weapon, right? It's meant to punish and control. But other times, it's a shield, used to protect yourself when you're just completely overwhelmed.
Let's break this down, because the difference is everything. On one side, you've got the silent treatment. That is a deliberate choice. It's a calculated, passive-aggressive move designed to punish you, to control you, to make you hurt. But then on the other side, you have stonewalling. And that's a whole different story. This isn't about punishment, it's about survival. It's a defensive shutdown that happens when a person feels totally and completely emotionally flooded. So let's go a little deeper into that idea of a shield, because stonewalling isn't just a bad communication habit. For a lot of people, it's a deep biological event. It's like their body is under attack and just yanks the emergency brake without them even choosing to.
So the Gottman Institute, they've studied couples for like decades. They have a name for this. They call it flooding. It's what happens when your body perceives an emotional threat, like harsh criticism or contempt, and your internal alarm system just goes haywire. Your body literally thinks it's about to fight a tiger, but you're just having an argument in the kitchen.
And check this out. This shows you just how physical it is. When you're flooded, your heart rate can shoot past 100 beats per minute. And once that happens, your brain's ability to think rationally, to really listen, to process information, it just goes offline. Empathy? Gone. Problem solving? Impossible. You are physically incapable of having a productive conversation.
And this all happens in this super fast biological domino effect. First, there's the threat. Then, bam, a flood of stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol hits your system. That shuts down your rational brain, and since you can't exactly fight or run away from your partner, your body goes to its last resort: freeze. That freeze is stonewalling. It's a survival mechanism, not a malicious attack.
But what happens when this cycle just goes on and on? One person shuts down, the other feels rejected and abandoned over and over again. Well, that's when you get to the most heartbreaking part of all of this. It's that moment when one partner just stops fighting for the relationship.
And this quote just nails it. The real danger sign isn't when the fights are loud and messy. It's when everything goes quiet. Not the quiet of being overwhelmed, but the quiet of just giving up.
This is so important, because it totally reframes how we should look at conflict. When your partner's arguing, or crying, or trying to explain themselves, we call that active protest. Yeah, it's painful, but you know what it really means? It means I still care enough to fight. I still have hope that we can fix this. The real red flag is when that all stops, and you get emotional stillness. That quiet, that lack of reaction, that means I'm done. I'm saving my energy now, because I finally accepted that nothing is ever going to change.
This quiet surrender, it actually has a name in psychology. It's called learned helplessness. It's what happens when someone has been in a stressful situation they can't control,
over and over. After a while, they start to believe that they're powerless, so they just stop trying to change things, even if a solution appears.
So, how do you spot this? What does it actually look like? Well, you'll see a big shift from intense emotion to nothing. They become passive. They don't argue their points anymore. They stop trying to connect or fix things. They might seem blank instead of sad or mad. They've just given up because deep down, they've started to believe it just doesn't matter what I do or say.
Okay, I know that sounds incredibly bleak, and honestly, it is. But, and this is a really big but, there is a path back from that edge. The solution, though, is not what most of us think it is. It doesn't start with talking more or explaining your feelings better. It starts with the body.
Before you can have any real, meaningful conversation, both of your nervous systems have to come down from that high-alert survival mode. The #1 priority is making things feel safe again, on a physical, biological level. If you don't do that, you're just talking to each other's defense mechanisms, not each other.
So here it is, the practical playbook, straight from the Gottman Method. Step 1. You have to agree ahead of time that the second one of you feels flooded, you call a stop. Step 2. Take a real timeout, at least 20 minutes apart. That's about how long it takes for all those stress hormones to flush out of your system. Step 3, and this is crucial, self-soothe. Don't just sit there stewing over the fight. Do something that actually calms you down. Listen to music, take a walk, whatever. Then, and only then, can you come back and try the conversation again. And that really brings us to the final, most important idea. I think a lot of us believe the goal is to have a relationship with no fighting, but that's just not realistic. The real goal is to build a relationship that's safe enough for conflict. A relationship where a disagreement doesn't feel like a life or death threat, but just a chance to understand each other a little bit better. This was TinyDrafts.